My name is Brittany, and I am on the customer success team here at InspectPoint. Here we have the men of the hour, as I always like to say. We have Jimmy Snowden. He is the customer success operations manager. And then we also have John Ryan, who is the lead QA engineer here at InspectPoint. So you might be wondering what the topics we'll be discussing today. Well, topic number one, we are going to discuss some of our dashboard enhancements. So we'll be discussing what the feature is, like I said, why is it beneficial, and then how to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll kick this off to John to just chat about these new features. I do have a video that'll just play, just pointing out some of them on the dashboard. So.
All right, so you see our new dashboard here. The actual layout itself is similar to what we had previously with the inspection service, if you have that enabled, invoices, etc. But when we first rolled this out, we started to get a lot of feedback like, hey, this looks great and it's really cool, but it would be great if you could actually click on these things. So, we're always listening. So we kind of took that back, took that information, stuff like this hour here really helps us out in getting, what the customers, what you guys want. So we're able to work with the design team and product and kind of come up with a flow here. So as we look at this screen here, at your top right, you're going to have a toggle. And that toggle actually now allows you to determine what statuses you want shown here. So we have in our inspections right now, for example, in this view, you have your pending, your scheduled, started, waiting for review, and so forth. Now, if your particular role in the back end, you don't need those. You just need to know what are scheduled, right? So in that toggle there, you can just go in and then you actually click on inspections and you can remove the rest of them, only leaving scheduled. Now, again, I'm just using this as an example, but that's basically the premise there, is that we're giving the back-end user, just like we basically try to do all the time, is get it for how you want it set up. If you want only your custom statuses shown, you can do that. So it gives you the ability to kind of run through and pick the ones that you want to see there. Also, piggybacking off of that is you can actually click on them and it actually shows a modal. Now the modal actually shows those inspections that are listed with the number, right? So instead of having to go to the inspection listing screen, kind of go through the filters again, this brings you right to the information you need and you can click right on the inspection. So the whole idea was to get the user in the back end the ability to get the information they want quicker and efficiently, right? That's kind of what we're about here. So this back end ability now from just this one screen can bring you directly to where you want to be without having to go through all the other filters. And it's great if you still want to do that, but we just want to always provide the option to give you exactly what you want. So as we look at this screen, you have the same options along the service. At the top now, you'll see some new additions here. Inspections today, service visits today, and high priority items. Now, on our previous dashboard, these were found at the bottom, right? And we wanted to keep that one-click ability there so people would still have that ability and get to what they have scheduled today instead of having to go to the listing screens for each of them or kind of, having to filter out. This will let you know, all right, this is what I have today or what my techs are doing today. And you can kind of look at it from there, have a ballpark idea kind of right there of what is happening in the company today. We kept the high priority items. Now, what those are, I know that can be a big number, a small number, depending. So these are going to be an inspection list, and it's going to show all time, mind you. So this is all time you've been with InspectPoint, inspections that have deficiencies in the critical and impairment level. So this will bring you to any of those. So it's making you aware, hey, these are the high priority items that still exist. And this is where you can find those here listed out. So as Brittany you can see some of the dates here. They do go back, and it's just letting you know, hey, this was then, and it goes back all time just to keep you in the mindset that is, what's here, and these ones had deficiencies, et cetera. So again, this screen really leads us to just that ability to get what you need faster and it kind of right in front of you just from as soon as you log in. And I can just go over a couple other ones. So that's kind of again, each one of these is clickable. So as we go down, we can look at our invoices. So you see, whoa, okay, this tenant's making a little bit of money here. So they've sent out 5. There's been X amount paid. Now, again, all clickable, all brings you right to the actual invoice that you need instead of having to go to the invoices, mess with all those filters. This kind of gives you the ones that have been sent out, the amount that have been paid, and you can kind of see your numbers there too. And it'll lead you to, if you look at, if Brittany clicks on, say, like the paid, you'll see that like you still have in the modal at the top right, it can bring you to the invoice insight screen. If you want to take, a deeper look at all these, those actually come from right here too. So you wouldn't even have to click back or do anything like that. Again, the feature here does have all the ability across all. So if you are on your tablet, your iPhone, etc., you want to get to the back end, everything there accessible. Clicking on the X, or if any clicks off of this modal, just a heads up, that'll close it too. So it's really, really intuitive. And kind of what we're trying to do is listen to what the customers say and make it easier for them to get the information they need. Jimmy and I, we meet every day, and kind of this was something he was talking about too, that in his previous role before InspectPoint, he was actually in this role in another company using this. So I know, Jimmy, you wanted to give us some insight as to the thought process of being here and how this kind of really would enhance the job, right?
Yeah, exactly. The main thing is that when you're using the product, as all of our customers know, you're doing the same process over and over and over again. And a lot of times you have to go down the rabbit hole, and you have to, in order to get to that one inspection that you need, or, so you'll go to the inspection page on the left-hand side, and you'll have to set up your filters and, look for, not all the statuses apply to you. So you just need to see, and maybe not all the text apply to you. And so you need to just see maybe inspections in the waiting review status, inspections that are deleted by the technician, because that lets you know, hey, I probably need to reschedule this. And now you don't have to go to that inspection page anymore. You just are able to go to this, I would call it like an at a glance. Everything that is pertinent to you, you can set up. Like if you don't want to see any pending inspections, just click it, and then it will not show up in your view anymore. And if you only want to see the waiting for review deleted by technician, now that's all that's going to be there, and you click on it, and now you're able you can click on the inspection number and get right into that inspection. You don't have to go down the rabbit hole anymore. You don't have to go to another page, set all the correct filters. You set the filters once, you have your at a glance thing, you click on it, you click into the inspection. Now you're only looking, the only inspections that are on your radar are the ones that pertain directly to you. And that's really the benefit of this, because I know that when I was in the industry and I was having to go into all these inspections, I was having to go back to the inspection page, reset the filters, then go back into the next inspection, then go back into the inspection page, go in and set the filters in order to find the right inspections. And I can say for myself, the ones that I used the most was waiting for review. That's the one that's going to let you know it's done, the technician is completed. I can now process the report, set up the invoice, send out the inspection report. And deleted by technician is very important because it lets you know, like, this probably needs to be rescheduled. And you don't want that to fall off the radar. And I know for service, if you work on the service side of things, the requires follow-up and waiting review are going to be your most important ones. Depending upon your role, you may have a role where, that's not your so you can go ahead and get rid of it from your list. But you can, with last time we had our, coffee with Jimmy and John, we talked about custom statuses. You may have a custom status that is just, Jimmy's jobs. Or I know one of the ones that we used was waiting for parts was one that was a custom status that we used. So that way you knew that there's a service job. Um, we can't schedule it until we get the parts. So it's kind of in this weird status. And you can look at other ones like we had another one called lift required. And so you can create all these different work order statuses and inspection statuses. And then you can, once you create those unique statuses, they are going to show up in this at a glance view. And you're going to be able to only see those inspections. And you just click on it. And now you can see all of the work orders that you're waiting for parts on, and then you can click right into them just by clicking on that. And yeah, I probably the theme of this coffee with Jimmy and John is gonna be all the things I wish I had when I was a customer. So
Well, I know we've had that conversation, Jimmy, between you and I. Just what you're saying here, like when we look at it as a whole, you're designing the product, but you through our interactions together, Jimmy's taught me a lot about the actual fire protection industry, and it's not everybody has the same job. So it's like a person, even though you're all in the office, my role is going to be different than Jimmy's. So when he brought in, explaining how he would use custom statuses and really kind of giving that, again, we always ask for input, even on the engineering side. We want to, we want to make what everyone wants. So kind of, take opinions and listen. And kind of, you broke it down right there, Jimmy, of like, you're going to use waiting for parts because these are the ones I'm looking for. And I need to know just by looking at this screen, I have X amount that here, and that when that gets changed, maybe it's somebody else's role to actually change that to let you know, okay, these aren't waiting for parts. So then that changes. And on your view, you don't see that anymore. So, those are good to go. Right. So it's kind of a great, like you were saying there, a great way for throughout your own company for each person to be able to be in the right seat doing their job and just make their job easier so they can do it faster and everything else.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna that kind of leads into one of the questions that came up. You guys had mentioned, let's say I have a specific job, I don't need to see everything else. Are these dashboards configurable per user, or is it per organization? Also, if you guys can go into a little bit, someone had asked about, you did mention statuses, and I know about work order statuses, but they said that they didn't see some of the inspection statuses that they see here. So if you can kind of go into both of those, how is it configurable for organization versus individual user, and then inspection statuses, custom inspection statuses.
Yeah, John, you can speak to that.
So right now it's kind of set up right in the back end to where it's going to be just like across the board, right? So if you see what you see, then that's what's going to be there. For custom statuses, they'll all show there, and then it'll actually be in the other. So anyone's printing removed here, you see that there's 165, because what happens here, right, is we don't want it to be lost, right? So essentially, if you do take off inspections here, right? So you only want to see these two. We do want the user in the back end to know that there's still 165 inspections that exist that are there, right? So they're still there, and we want that to be known. So we don't want.
And they're just under different statuses, correct?
Yes, they're under right. They're under the ones that you don't have set up here. So then what happens is they're still shown there. Now, if there weren't any in there, that would say 0. So it's kind of just another way we want you to be able to individualize, but also, show what's on the dashboard, but also know that, hey, those other ones are still exist. And again, this is just one of our kind of testing tenets. So there may be some, and statuses that are different than, are in like the regular, flow of things, but it kind of just shows, and this is a great way to see exactly kind of what to just kind of show right there that nothing's being lost, even though you're taking them away. You just kind of can't see them right now because you set it up that way, right?
So absolutely. was wondering about when I went to the inspections page, they saw some statuses here that they didn't have. Is there a way that they can create user added inspection statuses to show up on this dashboard here?
Yeah, I created that Jimmy one. You just go to settings and you click on custom or inspection statuses, and then you can just create a new status up in the top right. Just with that, yeah, new status button, and you can name it whatever you want it to be named. You know, whatever, and then that will show after it's created. It's going to show up in that drop down, and any inspection that is assigned that status will be there. Yep, right there. So, and it is the statuses that are set up per user. They're not global. Every user can have their own view, and so when you set up your, when you set your dashboard kind of at a glance, it's not going to affect anybody else's.
Awesome. All right. I think that will lead us to our next topic here. So thank you for all that information, guys. All right. So we also have a new update to the photo review. So just like I did, I have a screenshot here and then a video on the next tab, and then I'll jump into the product. So John, I'm going to let you take this one too, if you can go into the photo review.
Sure. So again, just kind of when we look at things, we want to think of it as how we had it. So from this view here on the inspection, we had just a little link that was in the information that said all photos, and it would just bring you to a page with kind of not a lot of information, right? The user would have to kind of try to figure it out. They can click on it, and it just really expanded the photo, and there wasn't a lot of information. Now, again, listening to feedback. So now you have these photos here. So this video right here is going through the building tab, which I know historically, if you've been with IP for a bit, that on the building, it was a bit of frustrating. I think I'll use the right word there. If you had added it to a building, or certain things, you would have to go through lists and lists of pages to try to find the photo you're looking for. So now we've actually taken each photo that's taken, whether it's on an inspection, a work order, on a deficiency, or a pass on a question, just any photos, and we actually show the information there. So if we go to this and we look at some, say the photos here. So in this example here, we give the inspection it was on, the answer it was on. If it was a deficiency, it's listed there too. And then what it is, the time it was taken, et cetera, et cetera. Now you'll see to the right, we do have historic month calendars. What we did was we took all the photos that have ever been taken, and we've actually mapped them to where they are on the building, when they were done, et cetera. So if Brittany clicks on a month, it'll bring you right to that month, and it'll bring you right there, and it'll open that up for you and show you the inspection it was on. If it was a deficiency, it can bring you there. We click on it, and now we can either add information here. If you click to the right, we can cycle through everything in the month. And another big thing here is that the photo is clickable, but those links I was talking about, again, that's important, because previously you had no way essentially to get back to or know where those kind of came from. Now with this scenario here, you can get to the inspection and you can get to the answer or the deficiency. If it's a deficiency, it'll bring you right to that deficiency, and you can actually click on that, and boom, here's all your deficiency details. If you need to edit the deficiency, the same page that you would always get to. If you want it resolved, add notes, etc., all right through that page. And that's across the board. So that lives on the building, it lives on the inspection, and it lives on the work order. So I know a lot of our users work out of the building. So when we get there, all these information of photos exist right there. And you can actually go to, again, not just the inspection, that's great too, leading you right to the inspection, getting that in front of you, can see the whole thing, but it'll actually bring you right to the answer. So the deficiency or the answer. So this can bring you right to your answer. You can see the photo. This one was failed. There's a deficiency, etc. And the photo's there. brings you right to where you need to be, which is kind of where we're going and trying to get to is, again, is the back end users here, getting them where they need to be, getting them to the right spot, and all the information and the data they need right in front of them, in cutting away a lot of clicks and removing a lot of kind of user frustration in the back end, right? I have to go here, click this, find this, it's on this inspection. Now it's right there. I can go to my answer, my deficiency, if there is one, and I can actually click on it, expand it, and cycle through my photos in the photo and the media viewer, add any information I need to, remove it, mark it, internal, really whatever you need to do is just right there at your fingertips, as opposed to previously having to look through, kind of cycle through, click on one photo, go back out, click on one photo. You have everything right here. And kind of coinciding with what we were just talking about, Jimmy, really getting this in the back end more efficient, usability, really bring that up and making it easier for the person in the back end. And again, you've had this role.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the best part of this is you got to see a picture of my, my taco mat on my pictures. My mother-in-law made me a taco coffee mat, and it's on one of the pictures. I think it's amazing. It's like a real rug that looks like a taco. But yeah, so I think the primary people that this is going to serve is if you're an estimator, you generate quotes on deficiency quotes. Really, when it comes down to creating quotes, the amount of time that it takes to try to interpret and understand the inspection data is the amount of time it's going to take for you to generate a quote.
Right.
And so if you're looking, and I know that we've heard this quite a bit from customers, that there's part of the taco mat.
Tacos, Jimmy, come on, kill 'em.
Yeah, you had to, daily tacos. Before, the estimators would look at a photo and say, what is this photo? What is it related to? Is it related to a deficiency? What am I looking at here? Because a photo only has meaning when it has context, just like anything else. And so now that you can take a look at the photo and it shows what question it lives on, what deficiency it lives on, the estimator now can go in and can take a look at the photo, see all of the context, which means that they're going to have the knowledge to be able to generate a quote faster. And we all know in the fire protection industry, probably in every industry, the sooner after the inspection you get the quote to the customer, the more likely you are to be able to get an accepted quote. The customer is going to bite on it the sooner you get it to the customer. And so this is going to improve the amount of time that it takes for the estimator to get their head around the fact of what they're looking at, and really going to increase efficiency and all of this information going from the inspection to the proposal, and with a solid understanding of what are these photos even having to do with. Another thing that's been released recently has been the ability to annotate photos. Did I say that right, John?
You
I
did,
think I
actually.
said notate before.
I had to coach Jimmy up on the difference between notate and annotate. We're not singing these songs today, Jimmy, but we are going to have some photos.
Yeah, so you can now annotate your photo, the tech can in the field. So if you aren't able to get up close, a lot of times you see a coupling, or that's 35 feet up, at the roof deck, and you're not able to get a very close photo. And when you take your photo, you're getting a much larger section than just the head. Now you can actually circle the head. And with just the regular iPhone, I think it's just the regular iOS, photo editor, and you can circle it, you can write notes on the photo, and all of that helps the estimator, gives the estimator more information so that they can put together a quote faster. And the estimators that I worked with at the company I worked for, always, they were constantly saying, because I was the inspection manager, have your inspectors take more photos. Have your because a photo, what it does is it limits the number of, and if you're in the industry, you know this, it limits the number of times the estimator has to go do a site visit to see exactly what's needed to correct the deficiency. A photo, a picture is worth 1,000 words, they always say.
Right.
And
Jimmy,
this,
that actually reminds me of a flag available that has to do with photos and deficiencies in the field. So I figured I just might as well mention it while you were just talking about it. If anyone is interested, please reach out to your CSM. But there's two that might go with this. One is when a deficiency is flagged, a pop-up for the notes automatically appears, and then they cannot save the deficiency without leaving the note. That's one flag. There's another flag that prompts them to take a photo. That one they can get out of if they, say they don't need the photo, and it'll still save the deficiency. But if you're really looking for more information and you want to force it, those are two flags that you can have enabled. So you can just go ahead and reach out to your CSM to get those enabled.
And also for to piggyback off of Jimmy's, what you were discussing there with the annotate photo ability, if you're not able to do that now, if you've been using IP today and you don't see that option, if you take a photo and there's nothing on the bottom that says edit, that's available 850. So that where I believe we're at 846 now in the App Store. So just download the latest version and you'll be able to go ahead and, as Jimmy said, you can draw away right on there. Anything you want, send to the back end, and then they'll get on the report, etc. I know Jimmy had, again, talking from his experience in the industry, because again, with me, I'm kind of like, all right, well, what's the use case for why we would have to draw these photos? And Jimmy, he always gives a very thoughtful, thought out, and actually it makes a lot of sense as to why they would need to do it. So again, it's really, information that comes back to us. And when the use cases are there and it's like, wow, it makes a lot of sense. We try to make it happen, and it's a big team effort here. So like everybody working together, including our customers, that's a big thing. Like, we take all suggestions, and again, whether, they get done, that's kind of, that gets determined. But really just like all this stuff that you see here, the annotate photos, everything we just did here was just feedback of, this would be a lot better. This is good, what you guys do have right now, but giving us more information. And like Jimmy said there, the more information we can give, the accuracy information, and in that efficient way to speed up the back and, get it, like Jimmy said, get it out the door really for what we're trying, what your role might be,
And what I want to do is there are just two questions that kind of go with this. Pretty brief questions so I can answer them. But one of the questions someone had was about that they loved the photo feature. We've got great feedback on this in the chat here, but they did say that the photos were small and how they could make them bigger. So while I am on the screen, I'll show you. Well, one, you can see all the information here on this screen, but like you said, the photo is kind of small. If I click into the photo right here, you can still see, one, the photo's much bigger, and over on the right-hand side, you're able to see the information. So I can see the description. I can also edit the description too, if I needed to do that. So that was one of the questions. And then the other question was asking if this was just enabled, or did they have to reach out to somebody to enable it? You do not need to reach out. This is available now. You'll notice at the building level, if I go back to the building here, the photos tab, this only showed the deficiency photos previously, and it just showed the photo. Like John mentioned, John and Jimmy, now you'll see all of this information right here. So that's available for you. Same for on the inspection. So if I go to the inspection here, what you'll see is up top, this little row, details, activity, photos, and then you can see all of that. That being said, I think that kind of segues in. Jimmy was mentioning about photos and making it easier for estimators. So we can jump into the next topic here, which is some of the proposal workflows. So Jimmy, I'm going to let you start this one here, and I will go ahead and hand it off to you.
Yeah, so the idea here is we got a lot of feedback from customers who a lot of them were creating inspection contracts and inspection proposals, and they were being accepted, and then they wanted to make somehow tie the proposal to the inspection to an inspection series. So that way you have an inspection proposal that's accepted. Now you want to link the inspection series that's created off of this proposal. You want to be able to link them, and that's one of the main use cases for this. And I could see how helpful this would be when you send out a proposal. Let's say it's a quarterly. You send out a quote to do a quarterly inspection of your sprinkler system and an annual inspection of the fire alarm system, and it's X amount of dollars. When the customer sends that proposal back and accepts it, you now can click create in the proposal, and you can create an inspection series off of that proposal. And that's because you created the inspection series within that proposal, it's going to link the proposal to the inspection series. And so then you just go right into you click create inspection series, and then you're going to go in and you can choose, you can reference the proposal, and you got your quarterly wet maybe in your fire pump, and then you got, you're just going to do your annual fire alarm. And now the great thing about this is that now forever that all the inspections in that series are linked to that proposal. So the good thing about that is that, I know from my own experience that trying to basically before this is really difficult, almost impossible, depending upon how many proposals you have and how many inspections you have. It's virtually impossible to constantly be checking your contracts versus the actual inspections you're doing. And now what this does is it makes it so that when you're in an inspection, you just go to tap your inspection series, and then on your inspection series, you're going to see the proposal. And now you can verify that what you're seeing in each individual inspection reflects what's in that linked proposal. And so you're going to be able to really easily be able to verify that you're doing the work that you're contracted to do. And this is really important because how in the fire protection industry, it's all about liability. You don't want, if you're contracted to inspect a certain type of system and you're not doing it, if something should happen, you're on the hook for that if you didn't do the inspections on it. Also, you don't want to over inspect. You don't want to inspect stuff that's not on the contract, because now you're held liable to that for that too. So and you also want to make sure that your billing is correct. And so now you have this easy way of just clicking the inspection series, clicking the proposal that's linked to the inspection series to verify that the pricing's correct, that the number of systems, the type of systems, the frequency, that all of that is correct, that what you're seeing in your inspections is matching what you see on the proposal. I mean, this is what I would use it for. Even if you're, not going to use it as the official contract, to use it as a way of linking that, the contract to the inspections. I think a huge improvement. Yeah, John, you have.
Well, I mean, again, kind of the conversations that we have as far as IP, like when I looked at IP and I came on years ago, you look at it, it's like, all right, we're an inspection company and kind of focus, learn it. But then as we grew, we kind of look at the whole way things are done, right? And kind of like you just pointed everything out right there. Doing it this way ensures a lot across the board. you cover yourself, the inspections get done, or like you said, then if they don't, you can still, everything is kind of kept in check, right? We have a good structure of what was proposed, what's there, what needs to get done, and everything is kept track of, right? So that's kind of the whole premise of what we talked about today too, right? With the statuses, even if you change them, we still show you, okay, there's still this many in this status. The photos, given more data, more information, allowing the user to have everything they need and have it right in front of them, and not an overload of information, just exactly what they were looking for. And the same thing here, being able to connect this, these two here, and say proposal to inspection series, etc. Everything is there. I see what I need. I have my links, and it's just the ability to, across the board in our product, give, depending on what tier you're on, kind of give you more ability to get everything in the industry done is really what we're looking to do. And I think you just covered everything there as far as proposals to inspection series, really just, making the user feel confident in their ability to get everything they need done, and just giving them a way to get it done faster and connect them all so they have that paper trail kind of, and I've used the word paper trail again because, we're not a paper company, but to kind of, be able to follow through and see where everything came from, really keep things in order, if you're using your PO numbers, et cetera, to try to keep things together, see your reference numbers, and really just have it all sync together right there, and just give you that whole workflow. Again, as we like to say, if you have payments, from inspection to collection, you can follow the whole roll right through to the proposal, inspection, service visits, really whatever you use, but really just kind of giving these workflows. And again, that's kind of why we're having these conversations, right? To say, maybe some of the users don't know about this feature, or maybe they haven't seen. It's like, oh, but even if we present this workflow here, like you and Brett just did here, to give them an idea. Maybe I won't do it that exact way, but I can come up with my own way to do this and just still use these features and make it work for me, which is really what we want to do, right? We're trying to be, again, we're not a one-trick pony, right? We want everybody to be able to do their full capabilities, and really kind of just show right here again, show, hey, we have this ability. If you choose, hey, I don't want to use this, that's great, but it's there. And it can really, depending on your role, really help you out. So breaking it down like that, Jimmy, I mean, that's how I look at it. And again, the conversations we get to have, off camera is like, really, I learn a lot from the way Jimmy, kind of talks about the industry and stuff like that, just to think about how anything we develop, can be used in the actual context of the industry and our product.
Yeah, I would also just like to add, from all of the trainings and calls I've had with folks, there have been a lot of times where people have asked, well, I have a new proposal for a new customer. Can I convert that essentially to an inspection series, which you weren't previously able to do? And now you can. So you can take a proposal that you can create a proposal for a building that does not exist inside of your instance. Maybe you don't want to add the building until the proposal is accepted. That person accepts the proposal. You can then associate that proposal with a new building, which creates the building and adds the contact there. I can go right back to that proposal, and I can convert that proposal to an inspection series. While I'm creating the inspection series, I can basically build out the building on the series. So I can add the systems or assets, whatever's on that building. I don't have to add it to the building and then create my series. I can just create my series and add it at the same time. So it just streamlines it all. It connects all of them. They're all related. So it's a feature that I know many folks have asked about previously. So I'm happy we have this one here. So
that's a great way to put it, Brett. Like you just said there, kind of just what you just said there, and just being through all the trainings really just streamlined and took away steps that just kind of weren't necessary anymore. And just it's done, and it just, okay, and it's all right here in front of me, and it's all connected. It's great.
It's the paperless trail.
There you go.
There we go. All right. So let me go ahead, and while I'm looking over these questions. I do have a quick little poll. Feel free to take it. Let me go ahead and give you 1 second while I get that out here. Oh, I lied. Maybe I'll send the poll after. I can't find out where to launch that poll, so disregard. We do have a couple of questions though that kind of tie back to some of the items that we were talking about earlier. So I will go ahead and take that off. So first question, this is a short one, so I will just answer it. But somebody mentioned, you mentioned deleted by tech. I don't want my tech to delete anything. Is there a way I can stop that? So just to call back to that, when Jimmy was talking about the inspection statuses with deleted by tech, yes, that is an option. If you don't want that, just reach out to your CSM to have us disable that flag. And if the flag is enabled, all that means is the tech can swipe to delete the inspection off their device. It does come back and it says deleted by tech, but just wanted to throw that out there. That can be disabled if you do not want them to be able to delete that.
Can I piggyback on that one too, Brett? So
Absolutely.
if it is actually enabled and if you don't want to actually have the CSM turn it off and you want them to be able, but you can actually choose, because maybe you want them to do that sometimes. If you go to the settings area and then the company settings and you scroll down here, you can see there's actually a toggle here at the bottom. So use pending instead of deleted by technician. So if that happens to be enabled and sometimes you do want your text to be able to delete, if you toggle this on, when they do swipe to delete on your backend tenant here in the office setting, it'll actually put those back in a pending status as opposed to deleted by technician. So you won't actually fully lose those, because we run into some issues where the user did want the technician to be able to delete by tech, but then it actually removes that from being seen on the inspection detail, an account, et cetera, where you'd have to actually remember to go search for it. So now with the account, with the new dashboard feature, you can see if anybody does that, or you actually have this option in the back end too to enable, to where if the technician happens to do that on a work order or an inspection, it'll pop it right back in the pending status. Or if you just don't want that in general, you can just go ahead and reach out to your CSM. They can turn that off and they won't even have that ability to swipe. So again, really like to customize it to what each user would want the ability for their technicians to have. And this is kind of a built-in fail-safe in the back end, just in case they actually do swipe it. This will throw those right back in a pending status.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a couple of other questions here. Somebody had asked about deficiency statuses. So this question is for the critical, non-critical impairment for deficiencies. Is that something the tech answers while they're inspecting, or is it something the backend does when the deficiencies come to us? I'm gonna let you guys take that one.
Yeah, so those statuses are the kind of official NFPA 25 statuses. So the technician will assign the statuses. That's the ideal workflow. But they can be edited on the back end. So when you go, so if the tech puts the wrong status, or sometimes it's a judgment call, like the pipe is rusty, and you're like, well, that's just surface rust or something, and you need to change the status. You just can click the edit deficiency button on the deficiency and you can update the status. And so it's a pretty simple, but the tech is the ideal workflow is that the tech should be doing it in the field.
Right. So when the technician fails something, if they fail a question, a device, etc., you go to a details modal that pops up. Included in there are your notes. There'll be internal notes, so those actually won't print on the report or anything like that. And under that, this is where your statuses are found. So they actually can link an existing deficiency if there is one, or under that is where there's a status. And if they click on that, it says deficiency status. And the ones that you have in the back end, these ones here that we have here are there. And then kind of the same flow. If they're going to resolve it, they'll have a resolved toggle. They turn that on and they can choose a resolution status, etc. So that can all be done right at the tech level when they mark it deficient. And as Jimmy said, when it comes in, when you're reviewing it in the back end, again, Jimmy said some of them are judgment calls. He would know better than me. So the back end user can adjust that and really just put it at, and again, the deficiency status isn't required. So they don't have to put one, and you can put one on the back after maybe discussing it with them, etc. So it's really done right on the modal. When they fail something, it pops up and they add all their information. They can just choose right from there.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Let's see here. And we figured out the poll. It's just a one question, short answer. If you have any additional, if you want to go ahead and answer that, you could do that for us here. I do have, let's see, a couple of questions. Okay, so someone had asked about the photo feature on the external forms. So one thing to note is if a photo is taken on an inspection that has an external form, it's more of like a general photo, right? It's not necessarily tied. Whereas if it's built through InspectPoint, if the photo is associated, it's at the question level, where at the external form, it's more of at the inspection level. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Brett. Like the visit level. Yeah, so it's like it's not tied to an actual question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then,
and it will show if a photo's taken. You'll see it in the photo list.
Hmm?
While we have the time, somebody asked about attaching a PDF to the invoice. So again, that might be something we'll get more info on if how I answer it is it exactly what you're looking for. In your settings, under invoice settings, there is a space to attach invoice PDF to the invoice email. So when you send the invoice email, before it's just a link, it'll attach the PDF to that email as well. That's going to be in your invoice settings. I see some people writing thank you in there. We appreciate you all coming and joining us this morning. So we'll have these again. Feel free to join. Each month is different topics, different discussions. It's always with Jimmy and John, and I'll be hosting. So yeah, if you guys have questions, anything like that, reach out to your CSMs. Any of those feature flags that we mentioned too, if you don't want the tech to delete, if you want the note required for the deficiency. So yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great day.